the difference between hiring an engineer from Google, hiring an engineer from another consulting company, similarly hiring an engineer from IITs or IIITs, and hiring from the normal colleges. See, the people who comes from Google or the IITs, right, in the both aspects, they think about that. Why do I need to do this? How many ways I can do the solution for this? What am I doing? So they have a clean perspective on it. In the other side, I have seen that okay, there is something on my bucket I have to fulfill.
I've noticed about the Indian community is they're very excited about certifications. Whether it's students or the working professionals, certification is the key. Even if I'm doing a hands-on series of workshops or an events, the first thing they ask me, ma'am, am I going to get a certification out of this?
I may not be confined to only coding front end or back end. I may be a full stack developer who also has some nuances of user experience. So it will be a multi-dimensional role going forward rather than people limiting to coding. Defining the problem is itself a big challenge. For you to write prompt, you have to first know what you want to solve, right?
Hi everyone, this is Sandeep Jain, founder and CEO at Geeks for Geeks. So today we have a panel of business and tech leaders. And before we go into the podcast, I would like to put a disclaimer. These guys belong to big tech giants, and whatever we are going to discuss here, it's going to be their personal opinion, right? It doesn't represent the company. And we are going to counter each other, we are going to discuss a lot of facts. And in this podcast, we are going to mainly discuss AI, data science, ML, developer marketing, developer relationship, and we are going to discuss a bit about topics like how do you upskill yourself, how do you face challenges, and it's going to be a very, very interesting podcast, and you are going to learn a lot of stuff out of it. So let's bring it on. So I would like you to first introduce yourself, Kavita.
Yeah, I'm Kavita Aroor, and I've been in the strategic marketing role and the developer marketing role for the last 22 years. My core skills involves building up the community. I have led different campaigns across the Asia Pacific and Japan market, and we have, over the years, I've grown the developer ecosystem in this part of the region. And I'm happy and thrilled to be a part of this podcast. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you, Kavita. Yeah, you can introduce.
Myself, RadhaKrishna. So I have started my career in 2008 predominantly in as a research scientist for IBM SPSS. And then I was a part of a product engineer for IBM SPSS modeler and statistics, and then IBM Watson. And predominantly, I switched my career into IBM consulting, and then I have been into consulting till 2024. I left IBM, and I've been traveled through entire journey of AI from 2008 to till now around 16 years, and then started my own venture, JyoRa Technologies, which is basically a kind of healthcare product based company as well as AI tech to the upcoming graduate hires and learning aspirants.
So RadhaKrishna is somebody who started his data science career in 2006 when many people were not even talking about this. So we are going to have a lot of learning from him. Now you can introduce yourself.
Sure. Hey, I'm Janardhan. I've been working since '96. I passed out as a computer science graduate. After that, for the last years, I've been working for 10 companies, startup companies, big companies. So my philosophy is Monday to Friday, I work for a corporate. Saturday, I work for community, mostly building some community tech communities. And Sunday is my personal time. So that's how I divide. So we have, in addition to building the enterprise products that we have been building for so many companies, on the weekends, what we do is normally we connect with graduates and engineers and try to see how we can develop for the Indian employability part.
All right, great. So, Kavita, I'll begin with you. The first question. So, you are in dev marketing. So, if I'm someone who is a graduate and want to enter into dev marketing, first of all, you need to define what is dev marketing, and then you need to tell me like what should I do to become a dev marketer like you.
To become a dev marketer like me, technically I didn't start my role as dev marketing. I started my role as field marketer. So it goes long way back, 22 years back. I got an opportunity to do a lot of, promotion-based marketing, but I selected field marketing, which is basically field sales. And the reason I did it, and I'll come back to developer marketing at a later stage, Sandeep. The reason I did that is because I wanted to have the pulse of the market. Today, if I'm targeting any audience, I need to understand how my customer behaves, right? What are their challenges? What are their, unforeseen difficulties that we can tackle to? And that's the only time when the marketer can come back and drive campaigns, right? When I have to build my programs. So my initial first few years have been into sales. business development, and then I've grown over there into marketing. So I think the first 3 years have been into technical, on field sales, and then into marketing. I have done a lot of field marketing in terms of partner marketing, corporate marketing, brand marketing, and then the last few years, about 8 to 9 years, have been into developer ecosystem. To be into the developer ecosystem, I think you have to understand the pulse of the market from where the developers come from. You have to understand the sense of the technical knowledge that they bring into the table, right? And it's all about community development. If you are passionate about building a community, if you can network, if you can build up your skills on networking, this is the best field to be in, because as a developer marketing, you're not a 9 to 5, someone who can sit at the desk and do your campaigns, right? You have to be on the field. You have to meet developers, like, whether it's developer relation or developer marketing, you have to be in the front facing job where you're meeting, interacting, giving them the solutions, right? So to be a developer marketing, one is you need to have, the initial knowledge about how the campaigns run, and then it's about scaling out into the market by building the ecosystem in large. So these are my 2 cents to the community.
And if I want to simplify, the role is, promoting some products to the developers, right?
Technically, we are promoting the SDKs here.
Okay.
Right. And sometimes it all depends on the market dynamics, the technology evaluation today, right? We are talking about Gen AI today, and not everyone will be familiar with Gen AI, right? So me as a marketer, it's my role to bring that documentation, the tips and tricks videos, the events, the conferences at the city or at the level where the developers are present. And the new as a student, academicians, or the working professional come and participate, and it's our it's our responsibility to train you and bring you up to speed so that you can start using the SDKs at some point of
So it's not
time.
just promotion; it's actually more of an awareness and
It's more
training
of-
them.
It's more of awareness, training, certifying them so that we can upskill them to a certain level that they can come and join us.
I mean, that's really great job, because in colleges people are not aware about a lot of things what is happening in industry, and that's the job that you guys do, to make them aware about the things that are happening in the industry.
Technically, I think over the last few years, I have run roughly about more than 100 trainings across a stretch of a year. And we have, over the last few years, have trained more than 25,000 developers,
And
leaving
these
aside the
developers are
academics.
freshers or they're working professionals?
It includes both. 80% of my audience were working professionals, and then 20% were the academic.
And the working professionals in early ages, or like early experienced people, or
I would say beginners and then mid-career executives. Yeah.
And this is one more role. We did a community talk yesterday in Bangalore, and a student asked me, I want to enter into developer relationships. So there is a DevRel role, right? So what is the difference between a DevRel role and a dev marketing role?
I would advocate a dev relation role to someone who's from a CS background or an EC background, right? Anyone who's an engineer. You want to pick up the product knowledge, gain feedback. So that the dev relations are basically people who are coming from the product background. They have great insights into the product, and they're going to present that SDKs or the products to the community there. So they have intense knowledge about the technical development of the product, and they are engaging the community from that level. Whereas dev marketing is mostly, scaling up, right? So I'm reaching out to billions and millions of developers in India today, and I'm curating programs for them to start using the kits that I'm selling right now or evolving. Whereas dev relation is mostly showing demos, getting customer feedbacks, being there on the technical side more. So if someone is interested in dev relation role, and if you are an engineer, I think that fits the bill.
And if I want to enter into this dev relationship role, how do I begin? Like I'm an engineer, right? And I've worked as a software engineer in one or two company, or I'm a fresher. So any suggestions for me, like what should I do to enter into this dev relationship role?
I would give, there are a lot of programs such as innovator programs in organizations like Intel, Google, or Microsoft Azure, or Nvidia today. All the tech companies have the innovator roles. As a student, if you are a BTech or an undergrad student or an MTech, I would encourage you to come and be an innovator first. Right? As an innovator, you work closely with me, work closely with the dev marketing team, and then you're giving the opportunity to be a sponsor, you're given the opportunity to speak at our events, you're given the opportunity to do training. So we have always largely followed the trainer concept, where we give you the training opportunity, we certify you, and then you become a trainer with me for my community events. That's your stepping stone. I would say. Even for students, there is a lot of student ambassador programs. I think Google drives it, advocates it very largely. I would encourage all students listening to it, you should sign up to the GDG program or to the Intel, student ambassador program or the Nvidia programs, right? It gives you the stepping stone. One is to network, to get mentorship, and also build a community on your own.
All right. So
That's a
if,
great starting point, I would say.
all right. So if you are somebody who is looking for this role, you need to first join the innovator programs. And if you have some experience, then be the trainer also. Be the trainer also and participate in those activities.
Right. Ideally, all of this comes to networking in the industry. So if you are already a part of the community, you get a lot of opportunities there, and you can prove yourself from there on.
Now, talking about the community, Janardhan, you told that you're running a community here in Bangalore. And tell us more about the community and how a person who is, as she said, you need to participate in community. How a person who is some experience or he was a fresher be part of the community, and how can somebody build a community like you?
Okay, yeah. So when we started off this JavaScript community 2015. So I have been passionate about web technology since I finished my graduation. So I've been with touch with that. So whether it is web standards, whether it is working with companies like Microsoft and Google, I always maintained the connection in terms of how to evolve, how the web standards are evolving. Out of that passion is when I started the JavaScript meetup. When we started, we didn't know exactly how we'll host it and everything. So one tip for students is sometimes if you have the intent, you really don't need to know exactly how to achieve it. I had a mentor named Ganesh Samarthyam, so he's a great guy. He led me, told, hey, you know what, I have started this, you can also start it, right? So then I searched for it. There are many reasons why you don't want to start. When I looked at meetup.com, that is the official website where you can see a lot of meetups happening, I saw already web related and JavaScript, React and all, they were there. Then I said, why do we need to start yet another? He told, no, just start it, we'll see what happens. We are now a 13,000 member community across. While we predominantly in Bangalore, we are across 26 cities across the world. So there are people who are joining us virtually also. For doing such meetups and community, only thing that you need is perseverance. Other than that, I would have not spent any extra tricks to do anything, but except that perseverance in terms of maybe every month we host one meetup in office, and I don't know exactly next month where I will be hosting it. But the thing is, Bangalore kind of places are so convenient for you that they will be giving you some opportunities. So the means is less relevant in terms of how you achieve it, but if you have the intent, that is good. For many of the people who come to our meetups, at least 20% are graduates. Either they are doing their engineering or they just passed out and looking for opportunities. These communities, there are two types of communities. There are few communities which are company sponsored. Let's say Google, Microsoft, they do their own meetups and they do have their own community with the intent of growing their own technology, and then that one. There are many company neutral also, where people can join because they will get an exposure to diverse set of technologies and they are open for that. So our meetup is a volunteer driven community, not for profit one. Joining our meetup gives you several advantages. You get to know the latest technologies and things, and you can volunteer. For example, very recently one of the professors told that I want to do MC. Okay, MC is just hosting the whole event end to end, but in the whole set of things to organize a meetup, it looked a very small thing, but the thing is this person is very passionate, and this person does every weekend, he does at least 2 to 3 in different one. He volunteers and does that. Very small thing if you really see, but the thing is he's making a huge impact. So volunteers can be coming from grads, undergrads, professional, any network, but the only thing is that determination to participate is good enough. There are so many opportunities. For example, you can be the social media advocate where you are already there on X or Twitter. You can promote our channels through that. So there are many mechanisms to do. And I feel the most creativity with the graduates is they are well versed with the social media much better than probably me. So there are many types of ways they can help us out.
And when did you start your career at what? Because I see that you have a lot of experience, and how do you get this motivation? First, please let us know, like, when did you start your career, at which year you started your career in professional life?
Yeah, professional life, when we passed out in 1996.
1996 you passed out.
Yeah, 1996 computer science. So that time we used to, as a last year, you have a presentation, paper presentation to do. That time we were hearing something called World Wide Web. Okay, World Web, we never saw it because the only thing networking we saw is novel network. Within our LAN network, you have something. So that was, so we didn't know what email was, what web WW was. So then I joined 1996 as a trainee in Wipro, and they gave a very good training for 2 months. Then evaluated us and they inducted, right? All this through, the thing that was remaining is the web was something very fascinating. Maybe the good or bad part I can tell, I always had a parallel fascination in addition to what I do. My job to do officially at work was I had to write a device driver for a frame relay network. It's a networking portion of it I had to do. Somewhere I didn't find the bits and bytes and C programming not as interesting. That was when web used to come with very flashy things. The website used to be very jazzy, like what you can think of as the Govinda's yellow shirt, right? That bling bling was the way of web. It was right. That was very attractive to me. But over a period of time, I saw that web evolved so fast and so evolving that constant pace of learning and then catching up on that was what was interesting to me. So that interest had led to me being an author, being also a speaker at various conferences, and that has led to this community building also. Yeah.
All right, great to hear that. So now, Radhakrishna, you were in data science when in 2006, and this topic is topic of the talk these days. Everybody is talking about data science, AI, ML. If you have to hire a person in the data science field, so what are the qualities that you would look for, and and if I'm a fresher, or say if I'm a working professional who has worked in some other technology for 1 or 2 years, and I want to switch to data science or data analytics or ML, so what do I prepare? And if you are interviewing me, what are the qualities that you will look for?
Okay. See, let us say, like for a graduate hire, it should be an associate data scientist or associate data analyst or a associate business analyst. You data scientist or a business analyst or data analyst. These three are different roles traditionally. For the lateral switch, then we have the ML engineers or ML ops or AI engineers. So these how the role wise it comes to the people. And when I want to hire for my community, right, I can see that first how strong you are in terms of understanding the problem statement. When I put the use case or any scenario based questions which I am trying to interview it, that's where I try to observe that whether the resource has learned the data science and the problem he is giving the analysis behind mathematics are a kind of uh, a blind analysis. So I can see that if I am hiring a data scientist or data analyst or business analyst, it has to be a formulated explanation. That's how which I look. And when these people also start learning, for graduates at least it would be 6 to 1 year is what the reasonable time to learn if they are new to this data science.
And what should I learn if I begin, say, I don't have any idea, and my college taught me a machine learning subjects where some algorithms I learned. So, what are the algorithm topics that you feel like that I should be well aware of that people? I mean, one question that I can think of, most of the companies say that if I hire a person, I'll ask this question: Ki you use you use these prompt chat GPT and all these tools. Do you actually know how they work? Have you understood the algorithm behind them? So this is one question I can think of. Can you think of like questions like these or some standard questions and some standard algorithm and topics that somebody should be very well aware of if the person is trying to give an interview?
See, the interview would be rounding around the job description, whichever company it comes. The most of the resources I have seen that when I spoke to them as part of my interview, they were not read through the JD. Thus, they'll come out blindly to the interview. And even when I go to the campus interviews, right, people come with the malpractice resume. They don't edit the names as well. This was a predominant experience which I have. People has to go through the JD. See, that's how like see, I might look machine learning. The other company, one of the role I might looking machine learning. Other role I might look deep learning. Other role I might look the expertise in neural networks. The other role I might look MLOps. So in the JD we'll clearly mention that what we are expecting. So in those aspects he has to prepare and the resource has to make his own scenarios. How it should be. He has to think that okay, a machine learning. I'm supposed to talk about the a prediction algorithm. So what do you mean by prediction or what do you mean by forecasting? So he has to think himself. In that way, he has to prepare well. So JD is the source for the resource to prepare.
So one thing that I got very clearly, don't expect some questions. You need to understand JD first of all really well. If you have understood the JD, then think what is the requirement and what you would be doing, and then prepare accordingly.
Yep.
Right. So, what are the common job roles in the industry, and what these people generally do? I keep hearing these roles: ML ops, data analytics, data engineer, data scientist. So, what are these roles like, and what these people typically do in a company?
See, data analyst is the one who can understand the data from the functional or product perspective, and then he will have the detailed analysis of data. And we have pretty much tools available in terms of Python with pandas library automation, or a kind of Tableau, Power BI, and many other BI tools, and along with Excel. So this guy will understand the thorough analysis of the data and then give it to the key architects in terms of data science, or a key business owners or product owners. Hey guy, you have shared this data. This is what my understanding. So that conclusion he will give it to the picture. So that's what data analyst used to do. And a business analyst will do the similar job, but he is more into business perspective. So the data, whatever I receive, is it sufficient for this business? The business analyst is very specific to the domain. He should understand the business of the customer whom he is talking about. So data analyst would be a general person who can talk in terms of the data, how it retrieves from different sources, and what he analyzed. Business analyst is the one who can understand that the data given for that business, whether it is justified or not, and he can go and talk to the business, and he will be a mediator between the data science team and the business team. And data engineer is the one who can work with starting from source, either it would be a database or it would be any shared space, to till fine tuning the data in a required manner. He will build the pipeline. That data pipeline is what predominantly the technically they used to call it. It has several stages, and we have many things available in terms of AWS, Azure, and in open source. Those that is the work the data engineers used to do, and we have big data.
In ML ops, if I want to be in ML ops, or like if there is an ML ops job profile, then what is my role going to be?
See, traditionally it is a DevOps. The DevOps people, what they used to do is that you have developed entire code into your development box. Then how do you move this entire code from dev box to QA box, or a pre-prod box, or production box? This portion of work is what these DevOps people used to do. And when predominantly ML was introduced to market, they renamed it as ML. These people specifically work on the machine learning models or machine learning related code, whatever you have done. We have GitHub and many other things. So how do you transpose this code from development to till production? We have many tools available. We have Docker, GitHub.
Something students should be aware, and there is a choice they are going to make which may be staying with them for a very long time. One important difference I am seeing is they have to choose. They cannot be in both the boats. They have to choose a pure computer science, the generic one, or take the path of machine learning. And this, the contrasting difference I see is when we are doing the machine learning and data science, typically you are playing around with the data and transforming it to generate new things. Finally, that's what you are doing with the mathematical modeling and all. But the computer science fundamentals are still remaining and valid. What we see when we do interviews is people who are very predominantly machine learning, they would have focused a lot on Python. If you take Python and as a scripting language, and because it has a lot of libraries, you use the ready to be available one. It's like making a ready to use ingredients and then making a recipe, and compared to something where you have to build your own recipe, right? They're two different things. So the choice is going to be very important. And what we see is people who are good in the data science, who have like done maybe masters also in data science, we see that their ability to do the regular programming, what we learned a lot from Geeks for Geeks and others, the data structures and algorithms, there are many other types of problems which computer science still needs. So don't be under the impression that only if I don't do this, then I'm doomed. For example, I got into computer science or any other, but not really machine learning. It is not the doomed part. You still have an opportunity, but there are still the other parts of problem. For example, how do you store the data, retrieve data efficiently in terms of cache replacement algorithms, queuing theory? Those all still valid for your computer science problems.
So it's not just ML data science only. You need to have very strong on the fund. Even if you want, if
Computer
you become
science is the fundamental base for data science.
for data science also. Even if you want to become data science, you have to have strong fundamentals of.
That's how, like, see, if anyone wants to start with the data science, right? Data structures is the first thing. Even if you go to any graduate school for the computer science engineering, they'll talk about data structures at the beginning and the algorithms. So from there they'll pick it C, C++, Java. When it goes to Java, some databases and data warehouse and data mining, in that track it go in a regular traditional computer engineering. And if you come to data science, instead of that track, people will pick into a kind of a different path like mathematics, statistics, machine learning, artificial intelligence with data structures. And then people will talk about deep learning and then deep reinforcement learning and then a kind of data retrieval languages, and then a kind of they might talk about like ML with cybersecurity or ML with robotics or ML with healthcare, ML with retail as an option, and then they'll talk more deeper into a kind of deep neural networks and then advanced deep learning, and then they'll try to talk about graph neural networks, and then they'll try to talk about more into a kind of ML system optimization and information retrieval, natural language processing, and NLP applications, and advanced NLP such as large language models and generative AI, which we are talking about. So this how it varies into a vast into different subject when you go into ML or AI based. It is a specific focus, but the foundation of programming language and data structures will come everywhere. That's how even if you see that data science or computer science, the first year is common for everyone.
Yeah.
Even today, the base is from there. Like the computer science travel is different. Even when you see that the history of at executive level, right? Initially in 1990s when the SAR has entered, people call it as a chief data officer. Those days it was a data operating with MS Excel. People who knows MS Excel, MS DOS, those people are the very good software engineers. That's how they innovated. They kept it as a chief data officer. Then slowly technology moves towards into a kind of information, internet, all these things. Then they started changing that word into chief information officer at executive level. Then it passed into the application level. We have different products came out in terms of ERPs like SAP, Oracle, many other things like workforce or Salesforce, CRM tools and HRM tools, kind of that. Then they started thinking that we have application tools passed out. Then they were try to keep it that chief technology officer. And now, like apart from the technology, we are adding AI into the technology. Initially, we used to call it as information technology, then application tools based out of information technology, and then now we are telling about AI technology. And predominantly, I'm expecting that very soon. Initially, when data science came, we have a chief data scientist, and predominantly, I'm expecting that chief AI officer. Recently, I've seen the
So I think I'm clear. I got an idea what is required from freshers or working professionals. So Kavita, I have a question for you. You have this seen this software industry for a long time, right? And you have worked in community. You built and I think you worked at a very large level, as Asia Pacific, and you worked with different countries. How difficult it is for the software development processes when you talk about so much diverse community, and how difficult it is to build the community and address the community.
That's a great question, Sandeep, because India as an ecosystem, we have roughly about 6 to 8 million developers today across all the stack that sir we're talking about. Whether you're from AI, ML, IoT, game dev, AI, VR, right? It's easy for me to target. I mean, I would not call the word easy, but it's convenient for me because I know the developers, I know the face, I know the personas, right? I know the demographics, I know the age, and it's all English, right? I'm communicating with them only in English. I'm not using Hindi or Kannada or Tamil as the vernaculars at all. So I can build my campaigns on the historic data. I can build my campaigns based on the demographics I see. So I'm meeting a lot of customers, I'm meeting a lot of developers on day-to-day basis. So I know the dynamics they come from, I know the demographics they come from, I know the skills they are bringing on the table, right? And I'm interacting with them on a database. So for me, when I'm building the campaigns from such part of a niche community is easier, right? So like I'm speaking to you, I know who Sandeep is in the persona I have. But when I'm targeting to specific communities in Japan or South Korea, it's a different ballgame altogether, because culturally they're different. And my team is still there. We have agencies there, so we need to have the team, the community leaders there from that region itself. I can't have an innovator from India going and pitching into someone in Japan, right? So I need to develop the advocates in the Japan region. I need to see that I'm localizing most of my content. My content development starts nearly about 2 quarters in advance if I have to target to that market, because first is my English content is ready, and then I have to localize it into Japanese or Korean language. So localization plays a very, very critical role, both in terms of content, in terms of delivery, in terms of training, in terms of certifications also. So it's a very niche market. You have to strategize it well, and then make sure that you're targeting it through the community which is already present. So like Sir was saying, we have the meetup group, right? So me and my team have typically identified advocates in that region who are hosting meetups in Japan and South Korea. Likewise, when I have to do a larger conferences, I'm highly dependent on my agency in South Korea. So I can't have someone in India doing events for me. So the scale out approach for rest of the Asia is different comparative to India. So.
What are your personal observations about the software developers in India versus in Korea and Japan? Did you see any difference the way they work and the way they act upon the community things? And
See, one thing I've noticed about the Indian community is they're very excited about certifications, right? Whether it's students or the working professionals, certification is the key. Even if I'm doing a hands-on series of workshops or an events, the first thing they ask me, ma'am, am I going to get a certification out of this? Right? Maybe that's the career progression that we look at, right? Today I'm looking at a resume and see how he or she is certified, right? What kind of certifications from Google or from Nvidia for that matter. Is this person certified? I think that's the level of expertise we might be looking at in India. Whereas comparatively to Japan, South Korea, or the rest of Asia market, I haven't seen a surge over certifications. What they're looking at is they're looking at innovation. How can I drive innovation, right? So they have an innovation mindset, and of course, Indian developers also have an innovation mindset. But when I speak to them, the dialogue always starts from what am I learning, right? What are the end results? How am I innovating with the SDKs that I'm building? If it's a hackathon, if it's a documentation, if it's a code sample, or if I'm doing a problem statements, there's a lot of excitement around that, and I see a huge participation. Likewise, India also brings in a lot of participation when I scale out my events, but of course, these are some minor differences that I've seen. But technology-wise, I think everyone's tech savvy. Everyone understands the coding program and the platform that we bring in, and the use cases are really almost as innovative as I see across rest of Asia.
all right, great. So you must have worked with developers also who are in India or outside India, Asia, and Korea
Right.
and Japan. Like,
Right.
and how difficult it becomes to do they have some common meetings, and how difficult it becomes to bring them on the same ground, or they're fine
So
because they're all developers?
I always target them differently. When I say target, I engage with them differently. So let's say I'm doing a conference in India, it's only a ref to the Southeast Asia conference where it's an English speaking audience that I bring in. Let's say I'm doing a Korea conference, I don't engage the Japanese developers at all, because one is the culturally and the nuances of that culture is completely different, which we highly dependent on the team there and the community there. But I would say content still rules. Content is still the king. If you have the right audiences coming in, if you, I technically try to bring in a lot of my customers from this part of the region. Like if I'm doing a conference in India, I technically bring in all of my customers who can present the use cases using the toolkits that we are presenting, right? So that way they are engaged. And likewise, if I'm doing any events out of India, which is basically Korea or Japan, I try to bring in, evangelists. I try to bring in innovators from that region to cover up the use cases and stories.
All right, got it. Now I have a question that I get from every engineering college. So I visit a lot of colleges, I talk to a lot of developers, and they all are kind of asked this question that, what will happen to the coders? Is AI going to replace us? I mean, that's a very trending question, yet controversial, and I get it a lot. So what are your views on this?
I would say hold on to your horses. Don't be worried about it much, because I've been in this industry for nearly about 20 to 23 years. I've seen a lot of technology advancements that have happened in the past. And we are talking about the largest industrial revolution, right? Whenever any of this has impacted into the industry, we have never seen a mass unemployment stage that has happened. Of course, AI has brought in um, easy automation to job. There are some jobs that are easily replaceable, but of course there are opportunities that AI brings to the table in terms of growing up, enhancements, productivity, like and all of those sort. I think Gartner technically talks about in 2027 about 27 to 30% of the customer service jobs might go to chatbots, right? So that is predicted. But in turn, if you are still on Amazon, if you're shopping on Amazon, doesn't it say if you're not satisfied, call the customer service engineer, right? So that's how it's going to be. So I think government, we as engineers, and we as society have to also encourage the workers to get retrained. We need to have policies around that so that they're educated and the transition is smooth. But I don't see a major impact on jobs, and there's a risk of what you're learning today. So keep rocking, keep learning, guys. The only segments that I see will be majorly or might be impacted is creative writing. I'm from marketing, so I used to use a lot of creative writers in the past, which I have not done of lately. Most of my blogs are well written to some of the tools that we usually use. The social listening still skills in terms of analysis, analytics, and all of that. I remember days back when I just graduated my MBA and post graduation, I used to hold a piece of paper and go and ask consumer behavior surveys, right? So today it's all of share of voice, is all in the industry, and I'm highly dependent on the internet. And there are tools like Adobe Social and all that gives me the relevant information. But having said that, my team is still there. We have an existing team who manages all of that. So I don't see, a job shift or a major impact on AI.
All right, so what is your opinion about the same thing, AI replacing software engineers?
AI might not replace software engineers. It replaces some kind of manual work in terms of BPOs or KPOs or some clerical jobs in terms of chatbot. And if you see the evolution of the technology, what Core was telling, the clerks used to operate the MS Excel, and then predominantly the BPO and KPO people started using MS Excel as a base tool for any data operators. And then likewise, these people are going to upgrade it to chatbots. And chatbots, we have various chatbots. People can use it in terms of classic chatbots or AI-based chatbots or large language model-based chatbots, or people talking about AGI nowadays. So it might not be exactly like it's replacing entire jobs. It might cut off like some 20 to 30, and then people will upgrade into any AI-based application tools.
So
So,
if I am a coder, or what should I do so that I don't fall into that 20-30%? I mean, which might get replaced. Or I mean, one thing is support is one thing, but it's able to generate the code also. If I give it a problem that give me the Python code for this, it's able to generate. Google recently removed the whole Python team. There was this news, right? So what about that?
we can have many code-generated AI tools available in the market. And now Code Llama is the one which is predominantly giving very good code. Earlier it was Bard. Competently, like you can get it the code from both from Gemini as well Code Llama, and many tools are coming up.
So if I'm a recruiter and if I hire an intern, my job was to, because intern is a fresher and the fresher doesn't have to know the business, right? I just give him few code to write. Ki, there's this problem, you write the code for it. And now instead of intern, I have this chat tool or chat GPT or any other tool which can generate the code, or code llama that you mentioned. Right. So why would I hire an intern? I can just give it a command and this can generate the code for the thing that I am asking for. Now, so that should reduce, I mean, reduce the intern job. How do you see it? Is it actually reducing, or like, do
It will
people fear
reduce
about it?
in terms of the count, but it will not do the real job what a developer can do. See, you need to understand the code. It will not give exact code in executable manner that you can go and put it. You need a person who can understand and keep it in a sequence manner for your logic.
Yeah, that I think that
See,
I
the
just
Code Llama or Chat GPT or any large language model, right, will give the based on how you prompt. You should be expertise that giving the prompt to that. Based on that only, it will generalize and give it to you. But for the specific business logic, you need some person who can do a little bit or tuning on it, which predominantly for large language models people will have fine tuning was a concept for for those people. And when these large language models using it for any specific industry, right, they used to fine tune it, and it was in general purpose like intern which you are talking about, right? Those places we will not deploy those things and fine tune all those things. We can use it as a open source. We will have the code. Instead of 10 developers, you might have 5 developers or 4 developers.
So the way I see it is there is a lot of business logic that goes in, right? It's not just writing the quick start code or the must start code. There are a lot of if else conditions, a lot of error checks, business logic that has to go inside it. So AI can't do that at as of now. Even if ChatGPT has been there from November to this point, it has not even matured that much that can generate right code for a lot of problems. It can migrate one language to other language. Many times we tried using ChatGPT APIs to convert our existing C++ Java code to JavaScript, and it was giving 70%, 80% accuracy. It was not even 100% accurate, 90% accurate. So even now you need a validation, and thinking about business logic is way, way far. That's how I see it. I mean, do you also agree on this?
Of course, but still there is a capability in terms of AI can generate exact business logic. The code AI tools, whichever the people are working, right, it would be trained on a specific business.
Right.
So that's how I'm calling it as a LLMs for the business based LLMs. It will come. So now we have that Chat GPT, Gemini, or Llama 2, whichever we are using, Llama. These are generalized ones. If you fine tune those large language models into specific business, right? The code Llama, if you can fine tune into specific business, it generates the similar logic to you.
All right. So they
Accurately.
actually can become better, and they can become business specific with time.
Business specific.
All right. So your opinion on this?
Yeah, I will take the problem into very different dimensions and cover it. One is, I think somewhere we are equating software engineering to coding. Somewhere I think first of all I think it may be the initial perception of people, but I think software engineering much more than coding. Let's go back to just basics of engineering, right? You take civil engineering, mechanical, any engineering is about understanding the properties of physical world and trying to overcome that to achieve human made problems, right? So whether you take construction, whether you take jet engineering, anything, it's all about that. So software is also about that. We want to digitize the real world into something, and then we solve the problem in a virtual world, right? So that will never go away. I think with the more and more coming like things like metaverse and all, I think the revenue that a physical world will generate, probably the virtual world will generate much more problem. Okay, so the problems will continue to be there. So there will be a need for somebody to solve the problem. So that is where I see. Now coming to the software engineering part of it and the coding part, coding you can treat it as the next level. For example, we had in the earliest days of development, we used to write machine assembly code. Then the C programming language came, which made it little easier. Then we call it the mid layer. Then high level programming language. Now we can treat this as a next layer of programming language where prompt engineering is the natural language of coding, right? So we only made that whatever the complexity of it, we had a higher level programming language which is natural language processing. That's what. If you look at it, still the problems will be remaining where you have to define the problem. If I have to, you have to ask for some graduates to really focus on defining the problem is itself is a big challenge. For you to write prompt, you have to first know what you want to solve, right? So defining the problem will be very essential. That is what I think humans are very good at. We are good in connecting things and trying to see, oh, this could be the root cause, so let me start. So even the intelligence will be very important. Then solving the problem. Solving the problem will be more and more aggregated, which means that you don't need to be deep expertise in one area. For example, if I'm building an application where the traction of it should be from 100 users to 10,000 users, then I may not be confined to only coding front end or back end. I may be a full stack developer who also has some nuances of user experience. So it will be multi-dimensional role going forward rather than people limiting to coding. The reason why we specialize in, we have a community of JavaScript where all people come to front end. But I see a trend that 50% of the people who are back end, they come to front end. The reason is they started seeing the saturation point. Hey, you know what? I have mastered this whole Java and all for a very long time. Now I have to expand because my job needs it, right? So back end becomes, so similarly I see expansion of the expectations from the person will be you're not just doing a narrow thing, you're doing much broader thing. So that way I feel that there is no limit in terms of going. The number of jobs that will be taken away, if you take the dollar value, that will be far lesser than the number of jobs that will be created at a much higher level of thinking, higher level of problem solving.
So the job roles will change.
Correct. Yeah, and I think people who are graduating now, this is the best time in the whole industry time, because right now you don't have a job. You are going to aspire for, if you are a second year graduate, you still have 2 years. The dust will settle down and the direction will be very much well defined. Probably in your final year engineering or final year graduate, undergraduate, you will choose a project which is more aligned towards that, and you have a lot to explore. You have a huge advantage because a lot of the workforce were not tuned to this. Even people who are 10 years back who joined as graduate, they don't have that. And as age happens, it is very unlikely that people are well versed in terms of learning. So you have advantage of learning, you have certain skills, you probably did a good project. I think selecting the good project will be a very key differentiator for graduate.
Yeah, even add to that, right? We'll try to solve that more complex problems.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Which are not attempted.
The problems that you were solving
Technology
earlier,
grows,
right? You were
they
writing
also try
basic
to
code.
solve that more complex problems.
Right.
So again, you need the workforce. People will be trained in that way.
Right. They'll be doing much higher level job in the coming times rather than just doing the basic stuff that they were doing earlier.
The transition is important, and I think, like Sir said, the opportunities will be immense, right? There'll be a huge amount of opportunities
You
coming.
just need to upskill and shift yourself in the right direction. And
Trainings, the right certifications, and all is going to help them.
That is the reason many topmost universities itself come up with diplomas in between, short-term courses, all those things.
So some of the mundane works that happen still in the industry is when you're upgrading from Angular 1 version to next version, you just want to have engineers to work some 10%, 20% just to ensure it's not breaking. I think those are not something what developers enjoy doing. Rather, if it is given to something which does it, then you can really focus on business problems rather than the technical problems.
right, I remember when I started my engineering. I mean, I started very late than you started. You must have done a lot of more redundant work.
Yeah.
I used to debug a lot for one code, and it used to take 4 or 5 hours just for one error to fix because there one file included another file, and then there were unit test case writing and all that stuff. So that can all be automated, and that's an advantage actually.
Even
That
these
is going to
college
take away
graduates,
time.
right? I was talking about the full stack. They don't bother about Python full stack or Java full stack. Let them learn it as a full stack. Understand the differentiation of how it Python full stack or Java full stack. It is a little deviation in terms of the syntaxes.
Right.
So they need to
you don't have to
understand
worry
the
about that
crux behind it, a
because
full
now
stack.
you can write in pseudocode in the coming days. Right now also there are tools. You can write the pseudocode and can generate the code for you. You don't have to worry about individual languages. Migration from one language to another language is going to be easier. All that.
Now I've seen that graduate hires when I go to the campus, very specific. They say like, we learned only Python full stack or only Java full stack. You are, instead of back end, front end, all those things, people have started calling it out the full stack. So you would be the developer for everything. So why do you stick for only Java or Python? You learn it like what is full stack. Tomorrow, whichever code you can learn it.
So that layer is going to help you. You don't have to worry about individual languages,
Individual
individual
language.
things, and all.
Just
that.
you understand that the syntactical difference how it is.
All right, great. So Kavita, I have some question for you. Like you talked about community. And we also do a lot of hackathons at Geeks for Geeks. I see a lot of students doing a lot of hackathons in different colleges, and you must have done it at a totally different level, right? So when you see people doing it and people doing it in India, outside India, what are your learnings like? And if I'm a student or if I am Geeks for Geeks, I do some hackathons. What are the things that I can do better? I mean, what are the things that students can do better so that they can pull more crowd? What technology they should pick, and how do they execute better hackathons in general?
I think the first step for driving in a hackathon is the objective of the hackathon, right? So why are you doing the why question is very important, because of lately I've seen a lot of problem statements just appearing here and there, and then there are no real innovation use cases coming out of that. So as a student, if you are a student ambassador, or if you're driving it for your research purpose, or you want to bring in some career inspiration or aspiration into your specific academics, I think you should look at the why question first. Why are you? What is the objective that you're driving, right? Whether you want to build an innovation, you want to bring in new use cases, whether you want a career upskilling there, or you want your students to bring that community, in terms of code challenge. That is very critical, and I always go behind the objective first. Once the objective is defined, as in I think as a student, you should start looking at what are the problem statements you're curating, right? So pick up at least 2 to 3 best problem statements. So for me, off lately for the last 1 year has all been about Gen AI. So I have been driving a lot of use cases and problem statements and implementation stories around Gen AI. So if Gen AI fits the bill, and if your students are familiar with that topic, I would say start off with the Gen AI wave, bring in the audience together, create at least 2 to 3 good problem statements across different verticals, whether you're looking at healthcare, education, or any other segment, right? So bring in those segments together. After that, the process of audience gen begins. Like once you have defined the core goal, objectives, and all of that, the audience gen is very critical. You as a student can easily amplify it within your academics, within your university and institutes. It's easier that way because you're just hosting it on a website or your coding challenge group. You can bring in that right audience. But the challenge lies when you're inviting the working professionals, right? So you need to have the right vertical, right segment defined for working segment. So if I'm inviting a working professional, I need to look at what is the current wave today. So if Gen AI is the current wave, what is the right target audience I'm going after? So a different medium that I use paid media. I use LinkedIn post a lot. I use influencer marketing a lot to bring in the right audience, and I use advocates like Sir, who can bring in some right audiences to the table. But having said that, hackathons in India versus the meetups that I've done in rest of the rest of Asia is a completely different. Hackathons here can bring in an audience of about 1,000 to 2,000 people, right? It's all scale, and the moment they know they are competing, we are gamifying the entire effort. It's very it's not a difficult task, I would say, but then you need to segment it well. And AI for me in campaign management works a lot, and then we are going to speak about that soon. But if I'm targeting meetups in the other groups, it's all about the content delivery. What kind of meetup setup I'm doing, what's the location I'm looking at, what kind of audience I'm bringing. I need to print it out loud and clear on the meetup group, right? So because the audience are registering for the meetup, the one is looking at the agenda, who's going to be the speaker, what kind of content is going to be delivered, and then they register. So I would see a smaller crowd attending my meetups in Singapore rather than a meetup in Bangalore. If I host a meetup in Bangalore, I can easily put in a crowd of about 75 to 100 people, versus Singapore might give you about 25 to 30 people. But again, content delivery plays a very important role in both these segments. But going back to students, if you want to innovate, if you want to bring up, so look at of most of my past hackathons, there are a lot of use cases available on the internet today. And I think Geeks for Geeks is also a great platform to host hackathons. Likewise, we have done a lot of coding challenges with different other hackathon platforms. So pick up the right platform, the right tools, and I think you can do wonders there. Ultimately, the goal is for use cases, the implementation stories that you have. Typically, we use GitHub for all the repos that we are looking in from the participants. And the use cases, it has to be innovative. It has to be using the SDKs that I'm marketing today, right? So that's one critical element. So I have the judging criteria well defined. We have the contest rules that you need to really look into and reevaluate if you're targeting the working professionals. So all of that plays a very critical role.
All right. So the way I see it, you need to have first answer the why question. You need to very very clear about it. And if you are involving working professionals, then you'll have to be more specific. And the trend, you need to go according to the trend, and you need to innovate also, right? So these are the key terms that you mentioned. So now, Radhakrishna, you have been in industry for a long, long time, and I'll ask you the same question. What are the things that you have seen in the industry, like how the roles have changed of the people? If a fresher joins as a software engineer, one thing is definitely AI, ML, data science, which every founder, every company is focusing upon these days, which is a recent change. But over the years, what changes you have seen in the freshers, in the working professionals? What changes have been, how the roles are changed, how the working style has changed?
See, when I was into industry somewhere in 2008, right? It is predominantly people used to take it from college, and then consulting companies on their requirement they should train and put into basically a programmer or a tester or an application consultant. These are the two areas. When you talk programming, we have many languages whichever is used by that company, predominantly Java and .NET in those days, and SQL. And then some people into administrations, database administrations in terms of different DBs from the like Oracle, SQL, or IBM, kind of that. And then in terms of the application consultants into Oracle or SAP or Microsoft, or in testing it's a manual or automation, and predominantly it is evolved into selenium testing. That's how the graduate hire roles used to be there initially. Then slowly, like when started coming into picture, it has been changed into a kind of associate data engineer, associate data scientist, or associate data analyst in that aspect for the graduate hires. And laterals also it has been changed into diversified roles in terms of data scientist or ML engineer, AI engineer, now Gen AI engineers, and parallelly like DB2 specialist and application specialist, uh, kind of programmers and technical program managers, principal consultants, in a different various ways.
If I remember earlier in India, there were like institutes like Ducat, very popular. It was in my hometown also, NIIT, and they were like a lot of students have. You must have seen that time. You must have also seen that time, right?
NIT, CDAC.
CDEC and DUNET, and everybody was learning about Java, HTML, JavaScript. When the web came in 2000, right? Everybody was learning about these technologies. So, and then, some people, then the full stack development started later, and then Java backend development started. Now that's AI. So, like, how is this like? I mean, right? In the middle times, were there like a lot of jobs about Java backend development? I mean, these days also full stack development. And before that, there were like more jobs about JavaScript, HTML. Why these institutes were teaching, or like how has you seen the ecosystem? Like, what is the change in the job profiles? Were there more jobs of full stack and of JavaScript and all these things in earlier days than Java backend development, and now AI data science? Is it the right way to say it?
No, logically, like when you see the business problem, how it is coming, right? Initially, we used to have that we have a lot of problem statements to solve in front end. That's how we call it as Java front end. And when the business grows, right, this is normalized. The front end area was normalized. I don't have a single Java developer front end who has half of the work, and then the half of the work for the backend developer. Now, when it comes for the costing for the companies, right? Then we thought to have that let's a guy should have both the skills, and we start to telling that a front end developer who knows backend is a niche skill, or a backend developer who knows front end. Then slowly, like the institutes or from the college side, started teaching a full stack. There is no as such an engineering words like full stack, back end or front end. That is when technology evolves, you have traversed in this way, and they named it. So now, like I can call it as a full stack. So this guy can do front end and back end, the entire need of my application. When it comes to AI, it is a different journey. Initially, like the person who knows basic statistics and who knows bit about algorithm, I used to hire. And then when things goes, we started asking about that. How many algorithms you have worked it in terms of machine learning? Then we have like a classification, regression, and then like we used to ask about the decision trees, and we used to ask about the recommendations which you can see in your YouTube or any e-commerce website. If you purchase one and the other, it shows that the other set of things. And then we went into asking scenario based questions, and then we started putting into deep learning expertise or computer vision expertise. And then when slowly the text requirement has been gone, then we started asking about this sentiment analysis or NLP based uh, specialization. And now from last 1 or 2 years, people was telling it as a buzzword for me. Everyone is talking about like LLM or generative AI, but predominantly it was all pilots and POCs people has implemented. And now they started working on the real time implementation of LLM and generative AI.
So the way I see it, as you mentioned, it's getting difficult and difficult for the people. I mean, next level, they need to upskill time to time, right? Earlier it was front end separate, back end separate. You were doing a bit of stuff. Now they combined it, and then AI ML. You were asking basics, and now things are getting next level every now and then. So people need to keep upskilling and make sure that they are with the trend, right?
No, see, for the graduate hires or people who are in college, they don't need to worry about this. They can worry about how strong they learned as part of the college, what they learned. That is sufficient for them. Once you are into industry, see, we keep it that eight productive hours. And I've seen that many engineers in my entire journey, for them coming to office is a name shake. They're finishing the work. 2 to 3 hours they'll work, and remaining 5 hours they do their own job. So we generally, like when any consulting company like IBM, we think that a 5 hours of productive work for which company can require, and 3 hours of productive work for his learning. That's how we have a big L&D. That resource has to develop himself. Since you are a professional now,
Nobody is going to tell
you are
you
not
that,
a
learn that. You
student
need
that.
to,
Now
right.
we have many things. We used to conduct tech chapters. There the speakers come and the panel, they'll sit and talk. You need to make sure that you are attending those tech chapters.
And it's not like college where you won't get the degree, you won't get the attendance. You need to have the self motivation, right? Because these events are happening, you need to
For
participate in
that
them.
self motivation only, like see executives and the practice area leaders and up to the manager level, they used to do it. And we used to create, people are more interested in terms of fun Fridays than the hackathons which we conduct on Tuesdays.
Actually, I think it's a continuous learning for all of us. Learning never stops, right?
And you need to keep doing. I mean, if you expect that my degree is over, then it's now I'm fine. I can
Even
settle.
today, I just finished the Kellogg, senior executive management last year. After being in the industry for the last 21 years, I still did that. I think for the students, it's really, it's going to be a value add. It can skill up, and all of these new technologies and the market disruption that comes in, you're going to be ready for it. So never stop learning.
Why did you do executive management? Just because of learning purpose, or you felt like it'll help me in growing my career and all, or just out of curiosity and learning you did it?
See, for me, learning has never been a full stop at all. I have invested in a lot of digital marketing learnings. I am a very traditional marketer where I come from, right, where I started. Then I evolved into digital marketing. I had a lot of certification on digital, from Google and Simply Learn and all of that. And then eventually you feel that you need to, upskill and you need to grow in your career path, right? So some of these executive management gives you that path, plus networking. So you meet new people, you make new friends, and you learn from that, right? So a lot of assignments that are beyond your day-to-day mundane task that you do, you have to do something different. Projects, assignments come in easily, which you might have not done. Agile projects come in, and you feel fresh. You feel that you are a student, right? And that excites you, and the energy is something different.
Totally
So I
get
would
it.
say never stop learning.
Right. I mean, feeling like a student is really.
Yeah, it's very
So even see,
amazing.
learning is for everywhere. Starting from a person who is doing agriculture, and my mother who is an housewife, it is for everywhere. The instruments got changed right day to day. Since we are into a profession in terms of information technology, we are evolving that continuous learning. And even like a housewife sitting in home, she is updating her kitchen day to day, right? It is not the same kitchen what I have seen in 90s.
All right.
One thing I saw that evolving is, especially for graduates, I really envy them. I talk from experience of the product companies. Mostly I worked for product companies, HP, Motorola, Siemens, and this one. I really envy them because there are three things that have changed from what I have seen the 25, 27 years. One is the onboarding experience. Second is about whole person being there in the company. And the third thing is the role models. The first one, if you take onboarding experience, there was time in probably in 20s, 2000s in the beginning, where onboarding used to be 5-day onboarding exercise in a 5-star hotel because you welcome the people and that the employee experience, you want to give them the best experience. That there was a good old days where 5 days in a 5-star hotel and you were treated so royally, right? That
Even I got that kind of experience when I joined in 2007. I was in Taj Hotel for 5 days. We were trained.
right, and then you suddenly see between the 2010s and all where your onboarding is fill up your provident fund or some moment of this one, very financial part of it. It's not really great experience, right? But then now I see a big shift is the investment in graduates. If you see, they're pushing the salary bar every year. I see that in general in terms of trend every year the good colleges, if you really choose from that, we see that always the salaries are increasing. That's number one. Onboarding experience is so great that they take feedback from the onboarding experience, see that how to refine it. For example, assigning a buddy in the very early stages of it, as by the time you join a company, somebody has done the back end work, not only your laptop and everything, your buddy is assigned so that you can interact with them on a one-to-one level. Other thing is into speed mentoring. I attend every quarter at Dell these sessions where as leaders we have to connect with them and tell them in terms of what are this, and we give opportunities for mentoring. We form a smaller group of people and then we talk to them. And in terms of skill building, one of the graduate is given a volunteer role where they have to lead the whole thing in innovation, AI and everything. So the onboarding experience, the way we are welcoming people is really amazing. I really envy because they are investing in them so that they also think the guidance we get as leaders is, hey, they should feel this is the company I want to retire. Imagine that kind of thinking. Probably it may be there, but it was not translated to actions. So that is the onboarding experience. Second thing is the whole person. I think more and more it's not just about technical skills, it's about your overall personality that is coming. For example, nowadays graduates don't need to think, okay, if I lose my job, what I do. I think there are enough opportunities that are opened up. So yeah, there are a lot. You have to choose from, right? You have at least options to choose from, right? So
Sorry to cut you off. I mean, so sorry to cut you off. What happens in India? A lot of people, they are actually looking for FANG software jobs. So being an experienced person, I think you would like to elaborate what are other options available in the industry if you've done engineering.
So for example, right, in the 10 years back or 20 years back, some of the roles like product owner role was not very predominant. The agile engineering has brought into a role called product owner, where you are technical, but you're also looking from a customer point of view how you want to adapt the product. You have product management, you have product owner. This option wasn't there as much. Like DevRel is another example where it's a huge thing, right? Every company who is running a platform, they want to have a DevRel, and you also have a hierarchy for that. And India also opened up quite a lot that we are no more just a backend for all the software, back office and all other roles. So we are building for India, we are doing it in India. So that way the number of opportunities opened up and every role has a technical edge to that. If you are a technical person, you have a better edge compared to somebody else, right? So that way I'm saying that the roles are also opening up, not just be always coding or doing only the development part. That one. The second part I was talking, the whole person, I see people are welcoming. Like if you are passionate about driving a community initiative, even I quoting Dell and also other companies, we are very good in terms of employee resource groups. We welcome them in terms of doing community give back, or you are mentoring people who are children who are who are not as privileged as what we are and all, right. So there are a lot of, so you can bring your whole personality of yourself to this community. So that way you are not judged based on just what you do, but we are also doing extra things you are passionate about. Third aspect is role models. I think this is the most important thing I feel this generation of engineers will face, because they will be having very less role models. The reason for that is, just as an example, 20 years back I came from US for a short assignment and I had 1 lakh rupees. I asked my dad, where do I put it? They would have never seen such an amount surplus available where to put. He told, put it in PF. Okay, so PF has a limit that 60,000 is what you get a tax, but because they never saw any amount which could be beyond. So similarly, even mentoring also, if they are looking for somebody 10 years older or 20 years older than them, they must have seen only fixed deposit or probably one or two avenues in terms of doing. What you have is plethora of things, right? You have fixed, other than that you have many types of money multiplier, or you have stock market, you have mutual funds, and there are new instruments coming in, right? So there'll be very less people who are also well versed in that and trying to guide you. So one concept that is picking up well is the reverse mentoring. Means that you could be role model for your executive or even for your manager. Like your manager may not be as well versed in the technology areas. You being a sound engineer and also understanding the technology areas, and also probably you did some projects, you can guide people and say, hey, these are the limitations of AI, these are the limitations of machine learning, what works, what doesn't work. You can guide the team. So be prepared that not always that you will get a mentor, rather you could also be mentoring others in this.
There's a fresh perspective that
That
comes in.
that is
Right?
what which is been into IBM from long time.
Nice.
We call it as a mentor-mentee program,
Okay.
where the young graduates will have interact with the executives. They will taught that AI, what they learned in college and how it is. They talk about applications, limitations, and executive will share about his functional perspective and then ask questions.
Right, I mean that I have also seen in Geek Stories. I mean, whenever we join, an intern joins in, right, we get to learn from him a lot because they've been using the tools which have recently come up.
We have started a mentor program and we started certifying that as an IBM mentor. So you have to at least influence one of the resource. That resource has to certify through certain levels, so, and he has to approve that you have mentored him. His career has been transmitted or changed. That's how we used to issue that IBM mentor badge to him internally. So we have done that mentor program in a wider range
I
as
think
part of his
Sandeep,
career.
changing tracks, the other perspective of being an engineer, you just need not be a data scientist or a AI/ML engineer. I gave you examples of Ishan Sharma and Arsh Goyal. They have been excellent content creators today on Insta, on LinkedIn, right? So there are opportunities for students to not just be limited to being a data scientist or a AI/ML engineer, but look at the other horizons that are opening up.
No, we have like see in 2014 itself, our honorable Prime Minister has marketed at a big level.
Yeah.
Make in India, Startup India, all those things. It's not that how the political parties can make it a comment, but it has a really huge scope. That's how like we have the uh, startup hubs is there in every metro city, and even like it has been into the second level cities now. The students has to we have the incubators, and 90% of the colleges have Atal incubation centers now.
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
don't know
Government
like
has kind of made it
The Atal
mandatory,
innovation is there in
right?
made
most
it
of it.
mandatory, but people I didn't see that only like some the top colleges which we were discussing about a few colleges.
Yeah.
Most of the colleges they were not driving through that. It has to come from the college or the engineering education system that so you have plenty of opportunities to explore it, and engineering education system has to bring out that what is best. And see if you go to I have seen that the difference between hiring an engineer from Google, hiring an engineer from another consulting company, similarly hiring an engineer from IITs or triple ITs, and hiring from the normal colleges. See the people who comes from Google or the IITs, right, in the both aspects, they think about that. Why do I need to do this? How many ways I can do the solution for this? What am I doing? So they have a clean perspective on it. And the other side, I have seen that okay, there is something on my bucket I have to fulfill.
I think the risk takers have to increase. That's how you can innovate actually. We have intellects who can contribute to the IT industry, but we also need innovators and smart thinkers. I think what he was saying, there are colleges in Bangalore today, like RVC has a Fab Lab. Plus, it also has a startup ecosystem that can mentor students. I think it's the initiative the students have to take, be a risk taker and innovate and come forward to do the next level of entrepreneurship or startup, initiatives.
Yeah, actually, like
That will break the, the status quo.
to add on that, right, where we are conducting hackathons, right, we might add that startup ecosystem for the hackathons instead of a coding challenge or kind of that.
Yeah.
We might see that entrepreneurial hackathons. So it comes up different areas, because I have seen that predominantly most of hackathons would be coding hackathons or AI hackathons, kind
There
of
has
that.
been a recent hackathon with Built for Bharat, which actually brought in a lot of AI evangelists plus students who were innovating, and there were mentorship programs plus there were, I think, seed funding as well.
Yeah, I also got an email, right? I mean, they invited us also. I mean, in that to Innovate Bharat, there was an email from the government side. I mean, I was very happy to see that initiative. I mean, government doing it. Now, Kavita, you mentioned about Arsh Goyal and Ishan Sharma, right? I mean, do they have certain skills? I personally met them and I've been meeting them for a long, long time. And I find them really awesome when they talk about things, when they communicate with people. Now, as a fresher, if you are hiring a person or as a working professional, what are the soft skills you look at? I mean, you have two people. How do you decide? Say they are both good technical, they have fundamentals, they have right degree. Now you have to pick out of these two based on soft skills. So what will you check and how will you pick the one?
See, for me, attitude matters because skills can still be trained. So if I'm hiring, I will hire for attitude. I will hire for experience into the community building. Like, I wouldn't say that you need to have a vast events experience or a marketing experience, but have you done some initiative, maybe your events, your fest in your schools, right, or colleges? Have you participated in a little extent? How familiar with you with your core challenge group, right? What kind of activities you have done from an internship perspective? What are the projects that you've invested in? And how are you good in making connects? Because this role, whether it's dev relation or dev marketing, it's all about connection, it's all about relationship building, and your your speaking skills, how conveniently you can articulate your thoughts. That's very critical. So from a soft skill perspective, I would give more leverage to your attitude and your networking skills, and of course your core skills in engineering matters, but I think I will have more weightage to the other side of.
And if you can share some secrets, like what questions you will ask to check the soft skills. I mean, if I am giving an interview in front of you, what questions you will ask me to check if I have the right soft skills or not?
I think the interaction matters, right? So when I'm interacting with you, I would know the way you're articulating yourself. I would look at your resume and see if you have participated or conducted a fest in your, in your campus. I would also look at your projects that you were assigned and how well you have completed that. And of course, that one thing that you say, yes, I can do it, right? That's a big differentiator.
So I got some secret, right? You need to have, you need to say this. Yes, I can do it, right?
That confidence
No, it is the
matters, right?
confidence you have internally for yourself, right?
Yeah, you have to be self-motivated. Like, I'm a very self-motivated person. Never give. I didn't have an easy plate in my hand saying that, hey, Kavita, this is an opportunity for you. Have built that opportunities for myself. Even today, most of the time I'm headhunted, but I have a networking group. I have mentors, and I think every student should have a mentor in his or her lifespan, and that actually brings you that edge of doing great things, networking, and also bringing a lot of you'll face definitely a lot of challenges. Like I said to you earlier, one has to fail fast, so that they can they can actually look at the successes that they have in the table. I have failed an umpteen number of time. I haven't been as successful as I've been today. Right from my school days to my college days, I have failed a lot of times in terms of a lot of other aspects. But I think you should pick up. You should have that never giving up attitude, and that speaks up when I'm speaking and interacting with a person.
Even that, yes, I can do it kind of attitude works, helps a lot in the work environment also. See, I have a certain people report to me, and if I ask him here we need to do it, and if there's a person that says that we have already other things, would it be possible, there would be challenges, and sir, the other person says we'll do it, don't worry. I mean, then he comes over timelines and all, then after that, so first answer is yes, we'll do it, let me check. So not the answer like there are problems there and this. I mean, that kind of attitude also, gives more of energy to me also, that yeah, we are going to do it.
Definitely, there'll be problems. I wouldn't say there's never a campaign where we have not struggled and we have not reinvented. But of course, how can we bring in a lot of other peers? How can we bring in other knowledge into this ecosystem? How can we work together? That's very important. And we sometimes work on agile projects. So how can we bring in the rest of the teams together? How can we bring in our contribution? And even if you don't know, it's okay. It's good to say no, so that we can learn together.
And you must have also taken a lot of interviews, right? So what are the soft skills apart from the tech skills that you check? I mean, how do you decide which, suppose there are two people have the right set of skills. Now you need to pick out of these two. What are the things that you will check?
I can see the attitude, that would be the first thing, and then I can see that what extra he did as part of his college, apart from the studies, what extra he has done, and then how those things are relevant to me if I want to write it. So these two ways which I can see, and then I can see that bit of his communication. How we can see, for me the same whatever the Kavita has told, we can train the resource skill wise, but we can't give the self motivation or the confidence or a kind of attitude. Uh, so that's the first criteria which even I see. But we see that at least, like, see, for me to validate the skills also, like at least 60% side is fine for me, the basic, so that he can pick it up, my corporate training where I'm going to put him in the next level.
Right. And same question for you, because I think you have the maximum experience here, so you must have taken a lot of interviews. Like, what are the things that you would check apart from these?
Yeah, so mostly I give a lot of discount in terms of their communication skills and other things which we cannot measure and we don't expect them to be as one. So I'll be very careful in rejecting a candidate because of the communication skills or something. Okay, but what I look for is in terms of originality and honesty. How do we measure that? Is looking at the resume, right? You can put all all the languages whatever you studied in your 4 years and then you can put it, but not be authentic about it. Okay, you just did 1 or 2 programs. So for the sake of scanning resumes, because of the machines go through it, right? Mostly nowadays machines scan through it. So I have seen many students or even professionals, they put pretty much all the languages possible so that it at least go through interview process. That is a very standard technique I have seen. That is fine. I don't say, because otherwise you would have not even come to interview level. That is fine. But what do you say in the genuinity? You have to say in terms of, if there were I ask you questions in terms of, was it an individual project or was it a team project? If it was a team project, what was your contribution? We can make out whether the person was a side person who did the others were doing this, or we can make out, because the kind of your answering will give me a pulse of it. So that honesty is what is very essential, because once I have that gauge of the right level you are, it is always easy for me to in terms of tune you, train you, or give skills to you. That is very important. That's what differentiates in the interaction interview compared to probably just looking at a resume. Yeah.
That's a very
We
valid
add
point.
one more thing, right, for the same thing what he's telling. See, most of the students, what I have seen, that when I ask about their project explanation, apart from transparency, they'll explain the project very predominantly in a business manner. We see that the technical contribution what he has done in terms of the project. They'll tell that the business use case and the output, but technically what do you do? I didn't see that. So we see that what is his technical contribution in this, because I am not hiring for a business analyst role, right? When we hire for a tech role, if it is a business analyst role, that would be fine. When I'm hiring for a tech role, I see his technical contribution, what tools he has used, how do he validates, how he arrived that the tool is perfect for that project, the comparison, that knowledge, and the theory, conceptual knowledge behind the tools, what he is mentioning. So that's where we will try to come to conclusion that yes, this guy has really worked it hands on in this project.
Now, talking about project, I'll ask one more question too that just came to my mind. I mean, if I look at the engineering students, they kind of all follow some trend. One is making Netflix clone. Everybody is making a Netflix clone, and every college student, if you look at their projects, they all are doing similar projects. So, and same thing about startup. Like, if I want to build a startup these days around data science, AI/ML. So, what would be your suggestion about projects if I am a final year student? How do I pick the project so that they are industry relevant? Many times they don't know. I mean, if I say I am running Geeks for Geeks and I know that at Geeks for Geeks we have certain problems. We have these problems that if somebody is coming on Geeks for Geeks through Google, we would like that person to stay more so that we can, and there are authors, there are practice people who are doing practice. You would like to show them appropriate links so that they convert more, they stay more on the website. Like any other website, they want people to stay more. So this is one problem that we have. But when we look at the projects, nobody's worked around it. They are just all making and they're making different type of projects. So what would you suggest to a student to work upon as a project? And if somebody is building a startup around AI, ML, data science, what should be the startup and how should the person proceed?
Okay. Out of let's say 10 resumes I see, if I see, there is very easy to see that 8 of them will have almost similar pattern.
Right.
What will be really differentiating is the project what they have selected. There is a reason why they selected. For example, there are few students I have seen where they are passionate about, let's say, cancer patient, or they collaborated with Google to solve certain problem, or Microsoft to certain problem. Then the cause is very clear, they are contributing to that. Then if it is a more closer to real world, I'll try to see whether they have solved some real world problems. In a theoretical one, if you take any of this data structure algorithm queues and all, you can solve certain theoretically, but real world exposure and then how they tune to real world is the major experience. So I'll try to see whether their project was useful in a community. If they have taken internship with any of these companies, any company, need not be a big company, that will make them more all rounded in terms of when they come to real world or the projects that we are going to do, they are going to be flexible in adapting. Otherwise, that stringent thinking, most of our graduation is good for focused thinking in certain areas of ways of thinking, but not in different ways, right? If you take any machine learning, you will teach cat and a dog, or if you take inheritance, you will see shape and rectangle, and also we are so tuned to same examples every time that we are slaves to that habit. So I will try to see whether the person is original thinking, and then chose a problem which he resonates with, or she resonates.
And Sandeep, most of these problem statements are already there in Kaggle or any other place, right? And the solutions are already offered. So, like Sir said, the uniqueness and the originality matters a lot. Even when I'm evaluating my hackathons or judging, right, I always see where the source codes are coming from. If it's just gotten from somewhere else, we can easily find out from the lines of codes. But we also look at the innovation they're bringing to the table, right? So that matters a lot. And that only comes from the innovation theme. Like, for example, a lot of cancer related applications, or retinopathy, or agriculture, right? Identifying the plant diseases, they're already there. And if you're bringing the same kind of examples and use cases, it's pretty much from taken off from Kaggle or some other solutions. But what is the uniqueness? Like, we did a couple of projects recently on retail. So some of that was personalization, the user personalization. So that was something which is standing out in that project, right? That's an industry problem. And you have the computer vision, and you have the camera set up, and how are you actually personifying that user, and particularly on usage of cosmetics. How do I look when I'm using a specific cosmetics? So some of those use cases are really unique and different, which are not available today in the industry. So I would rank them higher than someone who has got those lines of codes, or the other plagiarism from Kaggle.
No, I think like there is a difficulty lies in engineering education system also. I have heard that when I interact the people from off campus, we go with on campus and off campus, and I have seen the difference that colleges used to give the certain list of projects to these people seems, and from there these people have to pick it up. When they pick it up, students are finding easy way that they can get the code from the seniors. They're in touch, and there like I used to see that really, like if those cases, like when I can see the similar project kind of that, I see that the capability of the student, see, even though like he has taken the code from someone else, did he understand that code what it is? He is capable to execute that at least.
One student that made a huge impact on me, I was attending a conference, and there was an engineering fourth year probably student next to me. It was a Linux conference, so he also had Linux. I asked him, what do you do and all? So he told, and then I asked him, what is your passion? So he told that in my college, all the computers that we have are running pirated Windows version. I want to ensure that my college is anti-piracy. This one, all of them, he supports Linux on his college laptops and all the systems. He said that I don't want something where it is a pirated, because that is my college. Oh. You see, he's doing a small thing. He says, I do admin job for my college.
With so much of ethical,
He's driving a purpose, right? So he's very different.
Even I have interviewed very recently one of the resource. This guy has built a LangChain tool. LangChain is a predominantly a framework for generative AI, where I can give any PDF book to him. It will generate MCQs. So he built a tool himself
to check the people, their learnings and all, right?
No, he built his tool using the open source, and then in the interview, he is asking me that, sir, I have built my own tool. Can I show you? Then I started telling that, okay, let me give the resumes. I have plenty of resumes with me. You pass on to your tool. It will automatically generate a questions to me based on the resume. So like that's how like some people, right? See, he also learned like how the people has learned the data science. Then he was a little extra to think about that, and he can thought creating a tool so that for all the PDFs for his class, create an MCQs.
And if I want to, since you're going to run your own company, if I want to start a startup in data science, AI, ML, what are the steps I should do? What should I do to build a startup in AI in this particular domain?
See, logically, right, startup would be a kind of a domain based. It should not be a tech based. See, AI alone cannot solve all the entire product problem. See, you need a lot of other.
But these days, what happens is if you use AI, you get investment easily. That's what people say jokingly these days, right?
No, like see, yeah, that's how AI is a flavor. Okay, you have your entire product, your percentage of AI, you are using it.
Paneer pizza is the one, but pizza is still.
You are a kind of, see what percent. See, you might make it a robo. Robo has a robotic technology, but you are introducing AI into robo. That's how it behaving as if like human. And now like people are talking about artificial general intelligence. Uh, it was predominantly a kind of AI robot, and very soon like generative AI talks about the text, generalized text, right? Similarly, AGI is a kind of artificial generalized intelligence. So when we train a machine or a model or a robot, right, it thinks like as if like human,
The emotions
and
are
it
very
answers.
And do you think AGI is going to come in the near future, or like how long it's going to take?
See, the AI-based robots is a kind of pre-versions of AGI, and that's how the evolving towards the proper use cases. So it come. It time has to decide it how soon it is.
It's going to come for, because I get this question from a lot of students. I mean, your opinion on this AGI thing? I mean,
AJ, when the chat GPT, when the OpenAI got started, their actually vision was to start from there. Okay, as per the experts, what I hear is it's still far away. We are cracking the multimodal learning part of it and also the inferencing part. If you take the Gemini and the new models, right, they are able to do text, visual, and various forms of it, right. I think AJ is still the intelligence to be built where it is on par and specialized for certain things. I also hear AGI is not going to be a one day AGI happen, but AGI for certain spaces. For example, it may be doing good with the human recognition part of it. Whatever we do, it may do at some level. Then the decision making and all may be evolving over a period. So even AGI may be spread across multi decades rather than just once happening.
and about AI, I get it that it's going to be used everywhere, and it's every business is looking to optimize. It's like I am looking to optimize what all we can optimize using AI, and the API is available. That's how every business is doing it. But is it like overhyped also? Because there was this tool that came recently, Devin, right, which was doing the software, and they called it, marketed it this way, a software engineer AI, right? I mean, something like this. And then later came a news that the video that they made was not original. It was not only originally generated, and a lot of YouTubers saying it's more of a marketing thing. I mean, they are not doing as they are proposing that it's an AI engineer. And since a lot of investment is going into AI, so a lot of people are promoting it in a way. Like I heard Zoho founder also saying the same thing. It's more, it's there, but it's more of a hype also, because there is a lot of investment. So a lot of investment is there, so people want to promote it, market it. How do you see it? Do you see it this? Is it like overhyped, or like, is this?
AI and Shah Rukh Khan has a lot of things in similar. There was time when his movies did not run for a very long time. People told that maybe lifetime award we should give him for all the contributions. But if you see what he has done in the last 3 movies, I think it's spectacular, right? AI has been as a buzzword and all in the research labs and all far where in some corner room some people were doing it was there for very. I think what ChatGPT made it is it made it the art form and the Bollywood form, right? They are two different things. So it made it very popular. Now it is so popular that even students and anybody can relate to what is the power of it. So definitely there is a promise that is there, where I feel it will be, if I compare it with the internet generation, there were times where people were selling everything on .com. That's how the .com burst happened, right? Where everything, they thought everything will be digitized and everything internet. But some companies flourished so much, but they are still existing, like Amazon and others. There are many companies which died down. It will be a similar thing for the AI part of it. But what I feel is the potential of it is so huge, and it is so general purpose. It is so general purpose that uh, the hype of it may be because sometimes if you take laptops nowadays, everyone who is generating that next gen laptop right now in 2024, they have a AI as part of the marketing term. That is what is little bit of cheating to people. Like everywhere you embed AI and then you think that people will buy it. Yeah, they will buy it, but they realize that other than marking some photograph and removing the background, it's not doing much, right? So there will be time where real genuine use cases will start getting solved. ChatGPT just introduces the flavor of natural language interaction. Slowly in medicine and healthcare, we will start seeing that whatever the normal doctors with limited knowledge could do, they have an assistant. The co-pilot way of working will be very, very popular.
Right, that's going to boost productivity of the software developers.
Right. And the inferencing, but the beauty of AI is it is applicable for any industry. You take healthcare, you take engineering, you take any of the industrial problems and solutions, all are there. The industry 4.0 that we talk about, it's a mix of many things. So AI will be a flavor and a top up in every field that we can do, and how much ever you can exploit. So I feel while the buzz is there and all, be aware, because as I mentioned, right, every laptop coming and every product coming with it, but there are very genuine cases which is going to disrupt and it will stay for some time. Yeah.
Like Nvidia CEO Ms. Jensen just talked about, right? AI is going to be the common language. There's no languages coding. It's going to be the common language that everyone, like a layman, also can use. I think I would wait for the day where AI influences my kitchen. I would definitely not like to have my recipes being shared with AI, maybe my grandma's recipes and all of that. I would still like to do it. But how can it automate my kitchen, right? Because that's one of my major problem statement today. So how can it automate that? And general purpose, like smaller use cases, which are like we talk about larger use cases in AI, but how are they commercially viable? I think that is something every industry segment today, like Sir said, whether it's oil and gas, education, any other segments you talk about today, AI's presence is playing a very vital role. But how is it applicable to every household, right? So that is something that I'm looking forward to in the near few years, maybe 10 years, 20 years down the lane. I think that is the future of AI. And of course, we also talk about good cause and social cause for AI and responsible AI. I think that's going to play a major role.
Anything you would like to add to this?
No, I think like they both have
I
covered a
think he's
major,
covered it
but
really well. The internet example, there were a lot of companies, but internet changed everything. So AI is also going to change everything.
for the
But there would
startup,
some companies who would continue, some would not.
for the people, the college graduates or the people who are coming out from corporate to startup, only the thing like which I can table it is like, see, you don't go it like someone is doing that, you can go, because I have seen that many people come and do a kind of consulting company or staffing company and do some so-called intermediary thing, and they call it a startup. Startup is basically that you should have an idea, because I have seen that when evaluation come for me in T-Hub, right? The startup papers we used to evaluate and finalize for the seed funding and other things. People of a staffing company says that startup, but that's all like startup. Don't think about the technology. See, you have a vision about like what product you want to make it. Like, see, we were talking about the co-pilot in medicine. I was written that one of the product that is in my mind, but that predominantly I understand that better to give it to health insurance first, then give it to the doctors. It is similar. See, generally, doctors will read 5 or 7 years the medicine. These people will read about the disease and the drug, and they are making a match for this disease. This drug is suitable, and each pharmacy company can give the drug prescription. So why can't I train my model with all these drug prescriptions and I can make a chatbot? So as a patient, I'll open the tab, I'll ask question, I have fever and staying in Bangalore, so and so area. Suggest me that which is a medicine. So again, medicine would be differ from area to area or region wise. The drug name would differ. Drug would be same, the manufacturer would differ, the availability of manufacturer. That level of assistant we can give it.
But this kind of tool was already there. When I was in IIT Roorkee, we had a hospital inside the campus, and whenever we used to go, they used to type all the symptoms, and there was this tool that used to give all the suggestions that this is the problem, this is the medicine, and most of the doctors were using that software. I mean, even that time, I mean, I saw people using in that hospital.
AI sometime back was more rule based. We used to call expert systems. In expert system, you codify all the rules and self for these things match and inferencing. That was the older type.
That is a classic chatbot which you are talking. That is there with us. If it doesn't know answer, it says that contact doctor. I want to keep it as if like with all the evident with the pharma. I'm not giving the question and answer based. So a kind of AI based chatbot will come. It has feeded with all the drugs. A kind of how a medical student has trained, right? Similar way we can train the AI.
So one thing I think what you said, it was simply rule based. it was not learning.
That's why
It
we
was
call it
not
as a
learning
classic
itself and then
chatbots.
improving itself.
Expert system was supposed to be doing that in a predictable way.
See,
Okay,
if you see
predictable and
initial
deterministic
chatbots,
way.
right? They used to ask questions. It'll keep on answer, and finally, when it is difficult, right, it says that contact customer care. That's how the earlier rule-based chatbots was there.
So Kavita, these days there's a lot of competition. These guys also mentioned that the layer is going up and up, and people, the freshers and the early working professionals, they're under a lot of pressure. So how do they deal with this?
I think the message that I have for the youngsters and the the viewers of Geek to Geeks is have this attitude of never giving up. One is have the growth mindset and work towards it. Like I have spoken about in the last few questions that you asked me, Sandeep, is always have this mindset of evolving yourself with learning something new. After you've completed academics, maybe look into certifications, look into different programs you can get adapted to. I think it will give you a sense of resilience, and then your perseverance, like he said, right? That is very critical for your success in your life. In my career, I would say I have failed a lot of times, and I have maybe maximum I would need a shoulder to cry sometime, have a cup of coffee, but I've always come back and I've bounced back in a a larger scale. And I think that is the attitude you all should pick up. You need to increase your networking skills. The second thing I want to say is networking skills. If you are in any of the social media network today on LinkedIn, keep in touch with most of us. You never know when a new opportunity opens up, and how we can help you or train you further. And lastly, I would say your mental health is very critical. There's nothing more than your mental health. Focus on that, meditate at least some part of your day, exercise, do some strength training. If you like some sports, play cricket, squash. These are some of the best exercise that you can burn out. And then you come back fresh. If you want to take a break, take that relevant break maybe for weeks, 2 weeks, but then come back and bounce back. Always stay self motivated, which has helped me in my career at least. And in both my professional and personal life, I've always been self motivated. And that has taken me to this this scale of my career and success. So I wish you all the very best, and thank you
Thank
for
you, Kavita.
inviting
Thank
me
you.
here.
That's a very good answer. I mean, that
Thank you.
that is going to help a lot of people.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Radhakrishna. So, what are your views on the layoffs happening in the current industry? I mean, people are worried about these things. So, what do you think about it? Is it because of AI or other reasons?
No, AI would not be certainly not reason for the layoffs. See, layoffs would have many reasons. The consulting company might lose the business, or a product based company might thinking about that. Okay, let postpone our business problem statement to next year because of any revenue or certain reasons. So it's cost cutting will happen on different aspects. And for the resources, right, who are losing the job as part of the layoff, I have seen that resources can get the job within a week, even though they came out of layoffs. Even I am hiring, giving the huge joining bonus, because when I hire a director for or associate partner or associate director or director roles for the company, we are giving approximately like a very huge amount as a joining bonus to them, because those people, even though they left at a very senior positions as part of layoffs, they are still intact with the technology, and they are able to survive with the industry. Any company, if not the company A, they can go to company B easily. And the resources, what I can advise at this level is that, like, see, you don't worry about like when your job can be losing. You just worried about that. Are you know what you are doing? Are you understand that who you are? You try to build your capability in that way. So layoff would not be any problem for you. The mass layoffs, because the certain reason which I found is that the people, because of a craze, they are coming into IT industry. Okay, I get money. I asked that many people why you want to reskill into AI. Fashion is the answer which I can expect predominantly, but people says that it gives more salary.
So, do you think that uh, the over hiring that happened during COVID time, like there were a lot of companies who were a lot of tech hirings happening. I mean, tech jobs were at boom during COVID. Was that also the reason of layoff? I mean, that
Yeah, partly that is the reason, because the tech has flourished very much during the peak days, because everything went digital. So education you take, or many of the things that we're doing. So there was a huge investment thinking that world may be continuing for a pretty long time. But then when they started seeing that when we came to the normal world, in the real world, the things have changed. So that is also partly the reason why we are seeing it. Yes.
all right. All right, Janardhan. So I think that is all from my side. And thank you for joining in. Thank you, RadhaKrishna, for joining in. Thanks everyone for joining this session. And I personally learned a lot from these experienced guys. And I believe you also must have got a lot of idea how things happen in the industry. So please do like and share this video and subscribe to the channel.